I bet you have often wondered, why is it that you keep making good plans to eat and to exercise, and then those plans really never last? You can never um, put them in place and stick to those behaviors in the long term. So if that's the case, stick with me, and I'm going to propose a mental model of the human mind that might help you understand why that's happening. My name is Liliana Gaspar, and I help people improve their relationship with food. And so the model that I wanted to present to you today is actually in the form of a pyramid. So imagine the very top of a pyramid as if it was the visible part of an iceberg. At the very top, let's imagine that we represent your body, and the visible consequences of your eating habits and your exercising habits, but also the internal consequences on your health. So your body is at the top, and it's the thing that we first think about when we consider the consequences of how we eat, of how much we are moving, is I put on some weight, or um, my body is a little bigger, my clothes are getting tighter, or maybe we might think about cholesterol or blood sugar levels and other consequences of poor eating. So that's at the very top. And underneath that, we're going to look at what's causing that. And then we're going to go step by step, every time going down that pyramid until we get to the base. So what do we have right underneath your body? You have your behaviors, of course. So those are the plans that you're making. You're putting together a plan to exercise 3 times a week, or maybe in terms of your nutrition, you decided to ensure that your plate is not too full, or you are being conscious of putting certain types of foods on your plate so that you get the nourishment that you need. And then maybe along with that, you need to do things like organizing your schedule in such a way that you can eat or cook or go shopping, whatever it is that you need to do. So those are all behaviors. Those behaviors are going to cause your body to be a certain way. And then underneath that, you have your capabilities. So your behaviors are based on what you're capable of doing, right? So that's that layer underneath is your capabilities. And what really motivates your capabilities is the things that you believe in and your values. So to give you an example, if you believe that you know how to cook, and if you hold a value that says you actually enjoy cooking, or cooking your own food is good for you, so those are beliefs and values. It's hard to draw the line between one and the other, they're connected. So if you hold that belief, that's going to influence what you're capable of doing. If you believe you can cook, or even if you don't know how to cook, but you believe that you can learn, and if you believe that that's important, so kind of more on the value side of things, that's going to affect your ability then to put that into practice, which is going to make you behave a certain way. So perhaps you're going to take a cooking course, or you're going to look for new recipes that allow you to eat healthy foods and enjoy the food, which in turn has an impact on your body. So we're going again from your beliefs, your values, to your capabilities, to your behaviors, and then the body. Underneath your beliefs and your values is your identity. And really identity, even, if you would ask a psychologist or a scientist, identity is a term that's quite complex, and a lot of people put a lot of different things in it. But think about your identity as the core aspects of yourself that you remember you always had a tendency to be like that, and you believe most likely you will always be more or less like that. So they're kind of core characteristics that are with you throughout your life. And those characteristics, they have a certain flexibility within them, so they're not very, very rigid that you cannot adjust certain aspects of your identity. And you're also vulnerable to the context in which you are. So your identity is partly formed by the groups that you are formed. So your family would have been the first group that gave you a sense of identity. And then after that, maybe your school, the schools that you went to, the groups of friends, currently your work, your job. You may feel that you identify or not with the work context in which you're in, day out. And you can think of other communities, other groups that you are a part of. So those things affect your identity as well. And then there's core characteristics of your personality. Those are more or less flexible. And so what that means is that there is a certain scope for you to work and understand what aspects are characteristics such as your strengths or things that you feel you're not so strong at, and how can you use that, and also the groups that you are a part of, the environments that you are a part of, and how that affects you. Some people, underneath this layer of your identity, if they depending on their beliefs, they might also say that I have a mission, I have a purpose in this world. Maybe some of them attribute that to some kind of religious aspect, or maybe it's just a general spiritual or transcendental way of thinking about themselves as having a mission in this world. So that's just to give you the complete model, and for you to say, is this something that makes sense to me or not? Fine, that could have given you something that makes you who you are. So regardless of whether that level is there or not, after that comes who you are, your identity. And that core identity is going to affect what you believe in, your values, which is going to affect your behaviors, which is going to affect obviously the consequences of those behaviors. In this case, particular case of the relationship with food, we're often talking about your body. You could think about your mental health as well. And so going back to our first question that we were trying to answer, why do habits don't stick? Why do good habits not stick? And the reason they don't stick is because they are not consistent with the deeper layers of who you are. Okay? And they are not consistent with the environments that you're a part of. So let's say you're trying to be very disciplined. So that's your behavior level. You're trying to wake up every day at the same time, go to the gym, work out every day, etc., etc. If for whatever reason you are not naturally somebody who is comfortable with so much rigidity, that's going to not last very long. Or if you deep down don't believe, if you're just following someone else's advice and you don't really believe within yourself that that's going to work, so your beliefs are compromised or are not consistent with that plan, that's not going to work. If you are pushing yourself to cook more often, but you just hate cooking, that's not going to last. So can you see, you need to look deeper within yourself. You need to analyze, what do I believe about my relationship with food, about myself, about what's possible, about what's not possible? What are my values? So what are the important things in my life? Just list them all and then put them in order. What is the most important thing for me? And so on. And who am I really? Who am I? What am I very good at? How can I use my strengths? What are perhaps some areas of improvement that I could work on? And what are things about the way that I am, which I will always struggle to, I'm just working against the grain here. It's not really working. There's no point wasting so much energy with this because I don't think this really suits me. So connect with your authentic self, and how can you use that awareness in order to, when you make a plan that is consistent with who you are, what you believe in, and what your values are. And by the way, this layer of beliefs and values, it's very flexible during your life. You can change your values. So maybe so one way of changing this is you list what's important to you, and then you list how you've been living your life, and is it consistent with your values. And you might realize when you do this comparison, for example, I would say my health is more important than my work, but then in your life you've been prioritizing your work. What this might mean is that there's something about work, there is a hidden value or a hidden belief that is motivating you or making you put work first. So it could be that you believe if you don't try hard enough at work, something bad is going to happen. And that something bad that's going to happen is going to compromise something that is important to you. For example, I could lose my job, I will struggle to get another job, and stability and safety and being able to pay my bills is important to me. So that's another value. So you see how you can compare and contrast. I have values, and how am I living my life? What does that tell me, the way I've been living my life, about maybe some hidden values and some other things? So you rearrange this again. And then you can think of different options and different solutions, how you can address those values and work in such a way that your behaviors are consistent with your values and they're not compromising your health, for example. So as you can see, this is a world. There's a lot for you to think about here and analyze and consider. How you do this, if you want to do it by yourself, is journaling. Now, journaling is, I could do another video on journaling. There's a lot to say about it. You don't have to make it a chore that you don't like and you spend long time writing. All you have to do is take a few notes now and then. At the end of the day, how did my day go today? What happened? What does this day show of how I am behaving, what I believe in, what are my values, and what's my true self, what's my core identity. And you just do that for a week or two. You don't need to promise yourself you're going to do that for the rest of your life. Again, if you can do it every day, that's great. If it doesn't feel good to do it every day, do it as often as you can, but do it, pay attention. And even if you were to just take one day to spend half an hour, 1 hour, just writing down everything that comes to mind, that's something. So do something, again, that is consistent with who you are and suits you, but do that analysis and then look back. Wait a couple of days, look back again. And that's going to give you a certain distance and you get the big picture, going to help you think about all of these things. And then start afresh with a new plan. That's a plan that suits you. And do one small step at a time. Don't try to change everything at once, because you cannot change yourself and your beliefs and your values all at once. Those things take time to change, and some of them are just who you are. They will never really change significantly throughout your life. So that's a plan, that's a suggestion for me to you. There is, of course, another way to work on this, which is to have help. So whether you have a friend or a group of people with shared interests and goals, whether if there's something very deep and more complex that ties with your past that's affecting your behavior, you could look for a therapist. If you're feeling a little lost and you don't really know how to eat or how you should be exercising, you can look for a dietitian or a personal trainer. If you want to work on your mindset, if you want help discovering your values, your beliefs, your identity, and using that in order to come up with a plan that works for you, or if you need help learning how to say no to things that are not that important, not more important than your health, but you're struggling to say no. Usually I tend to come across people who are struggling with relationships or work. Those are the two things that tend to get ahead, be challenging their ability to put themselves first. Um, so if you want to work on your mindset and it's not something that is really very deep, ties with your past, very profound, like a trauma, then you can work with a life coach such as me. And so how does it look like to work with somebody like me? Every week, I have a program that's a 12-week program. Every week, we meet for 1 hour and we talk about what's going on. We can talk about relationship with food, we can talk about exercise, we can talk about work, we can talk about relationships, but all with the end purpose of reflecting on how ultimately this is affecting your behavior. And what is it that working with a coach gives you? It gives you feedback. It gives you an external point of view. You could be in your head going around in circles and there's something that you're missing. So that's what working with a coach does for you. And then it works a little bit like training wheels. So in the beginning, you have somebody that supports you in starting to make plans that work for you, that make sense. And then progressively, as you become more autonomous in coaching yourself, in learning about yourself, in asking yourself questions that help you find the answers that you need, then slowly, gradually, those training wheels are taken off. And then at some point you become more independent and more autonomous, making choices for yourself, which you'll always have to be learning about yourself and what makes sense to you. So I'm aware that it's getting to be a very long video, but I hope you got value out of it. If you liked the video, remember to signal that by liking the video. You're very welcome to subscribe to my channel so you can be notified about other videos that I'm going to keep sending. And do check out the description and check out my Black Friday sale. Today, Monday 29th, is the last day that the sale is on, and I'm offering 50% discount, which is 600 euros discount on my 12-week program to help you improve your relationship with food.